Freedom of speech is arguably the most important right a person can have. It allows us to speak out against our government without fear of prosecution. It can allow us to protest and spread awareness about human rights violations. But not every government in the world allows its citizens to speak out so freely. Because of this, people have found more innovative ways to spread awareness for their causes. One of the most effective ways is using the internet. Users from around the world use this tool to spread information anonymously. So let's take a look at 3 countries that do not value freedom of speech and how their government treats those who defy them. Mexico is home to many cartels, 2 of the biggest being the Los Zetas and the Gulf Cartel. These 2 giants often fight for control over smuggling routes just south of the Texas border. They use these routes to human traffic, smuggle firearms, and narcotics. These are some sources of their wealth. The cartel have a big problem with people who expose their crimes, leading many people to turn to the internet to remain anonymous. In response to this, the cartel posts pictures and videos of the torturing and deaths of those who dared to find them. Despite this, people still go on social media to give their neighbors a heads up on where kidnappings or carjackings are taking place along freeways. But of course, there are some tragedies that happen along the way. It was October of 2014. Dr. Maria Fuentes was finishing her shift at a clinic she'd been employed at when 2 white vans pulled up to the clinic, both containing men wielding firearms. They then proceeded to jump out and snatch the doctor. Now, these men were believed to be members of the Gulf Cartel. While searching the doctor, they found her phone, which ended up leading to the doctor's online identity. You see, Dr. Maria Fuentes was a prominent member of an online community dedicated to exposing the crimes of the cartel. This group was known as Courage for Tamaulipas. And there they had it, one of the biggest critics of the cartel, right inside their van. So, what did they do to her? Did they send her on her merry way? Were they giant fans and just wanted an autograph? Of course not. They made an example of her. The cartel hijacked her Twitter. They changed her profile photo to a lifeless corpse. Whose corpse? Her corpse, of course. They also made a few tweets from her account. One of the tweets read as follows: "Today my life has reached its end. I can only tell you to not make the same mistake I did." Hopefully one day in Mexico, journalists aren't treated with such hostility. North Korea is a very secretive country. Although you're allowed to visit, a close eye is kept on you at all times. In most cases, you're required to have a military escort, someone there to keep you from wandering off. So if they keep such close tabs on tourists, one can only wonder what they do to their own people. Luckily, there is some information on how journalists are to operate. As you might have guessed, the media in North Korea is all controlled by the state, and they only allow speech that favors the working party of Korea. So can any citizen of North Korea become a journalist? Well, of course not. All journalists in North Korea must prove themselves ideologically clean and come from a politically reliable family. And if you post anything that the government deems unfavorable, there's a possibility you could face time in a hard labor camp. So just how hard are these hard labor camps? Do you sit around a fire and roast marshmallows all day? Well, luckily we have people who've shared their experiences about hard labor camps. According to survivors, most prisoners work 14 to 16 hours a day shoveling coal and carrying heavy rocks, which over time causes their bones to weaken and they begin to hunch over their waist. A prisoner is only given a handful of rotten corn to eat, and most guards try starving their prisoners to death. Not a very fun time in these camps. At least in Mexico, they just killed you right away. Ashgabat is the capital of Turkmenistan. It is known as the City of Marble. It holds the record of highest concentration of white marble-clad buildings. This place is unlike anything I've ever seen. It's almost like an amusement park, but more orderly and clean. It's run by a guy named Bertie McCondoff, a man whose name I've butchered. He seems to be well liked amongst his population, receiving 97% of all votes in the most recent presidential election. But of course, if you read the title or picked up on the pattern of the countries that we've been visiting, there's most likely some form of suppression of the media. The government of Turkmenistan maintains control of all media in Turkmenistan. Human rights activists are censored, and regular citizens only have access to Turkmennet, basically a censored version of the internet. Social networks like Twitter, Facebook are not accessible on this network. And of course, freedom of religion is nowhere to be found. Authorities censor unauthorized religious groups. At least 10 objectors were jailed, all of them being Jehovah's Witnesses. The number of political prisoners in Turkmenistan is unknown, for the government does not give numbers. Prisoners in Turkmenistan have no contact with the outside world. They are kept from their families, their lawyers, and medical institutions. Most families are unsure whether their loved ones are alive or dead. Many people believe their loved ones are being held in Ovadantepe, a prison notorious for conditions that amount to torture. In 2015, a former Ovadantepe prisoner came forward with an interview. He stated that dozens of prisoners, including Turkmenistan's high-profile public figures and former government officials, have died there. Some inmates have had their prison terms extended, likely to avoid disclosure of the prison's dark secrets. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far, you're an outstanding individual. Please consider subscribing. I'll see you on the next one. Thank you.